Hi everyone, alright, so I want to show you how you can use Embergen to save out these masked fires and explosions, which is really cool if you're doing concept art. So I can simply just drag and drop this onto my composition, and you can see that the entire fire and smoke simulation has been masked out. So now I can move this around freely, and this is really cool if you want to add some additional atmospheric elements into your composition. Whether it's smoke or fire, you'll be able to do that really easily. And I've also supplied you with 12 free images that you guys can just download right now. Check the description of the top comment. You can use these images in your scene, but I'm going to be showing you how to do this so you can maybe build your own library of these masked elements of fire and smoke, which I think is pretty cool. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so go ahead and open up Embergen. This is going to be the default simulation that you see over here. This is not an introduction to Embergen. I just want to show you how to save out these masked images. Alright, so you just need to go to the node graph, right click, go to export image. Now click on capture, click on this plus icon, by none, just left click over here and select render combined. So render combined is the actual simulation that we see over here in the ray tracer. So it basically takes all of these maps and combines it into one single map. So whatever we see over here in our ray tracer is what the image is actually going to look like. Then we need to select the export image, and let's just connect all of these nodes together. So connect R to R, G to G, B, and then A. So before we continue with exporting out the image, we need to make sure that in our viewport we change default to camera, and then we're going to snap to the preview window. So however we frame our simulation over here is exactly how it's going to be rendering out that image. So I'm going to frame this simulation just like this, and this entire background is going to be masked out. So it's very important, make sure this is on camera, make sure you're on preview, and just frame this accordingly. Alright, so let's select export image. Now let's choose a file name and a path where we want to save out our images. So I've already created a folder on my desktop over here, tutorial. I'll just call this tutorial, and you can see by default it saves it as .png, and it's going to have that masked background. So I'm going to click on save. Now you want to select export sequence and use absolute frames. Alright, so the next section basically is an indication of when your images will be exported out and from which frame. So in this case, from frame 0, it's going to be exporting out images. Now if you press R, you'll bring your simulation back to 0, and spacebar pauses and plays your simulation, or you can click on this play and pause icon over here. But you can see from frame 0, if I click play, there's nothing that's really been captured over here, so it wouldn't make sense to start exporting out images from frame 0. What I really want to do is I want to play my simulation and take note of wherever the simulation looks to be the most interesting. In this case, from frame 240, I would say it looks quite interesting. So I'll just put my first frame on 240, and then it's going to export out 64 images from frame 240. Alright, so that's what that means. And then the sprite size over here, you can see the resolution is quite low. I'm going to put mine all the way up to 4K. Now depending on how powerful your computer is, maybe this might slow down the export process, so you can try that at 2K. It's up to you, but I'm going to put mine on 4K, and then everything is set up and good to go. Okay, so everything is set up, and from here all I have to do is click on export now. But before I export out my images, I just want to talk about the overall quality of the simulation. If you want to increase the quality of the simulation and make it look a little bit more crisp, because by default the simulation is actually going to look a little bit blurry, and that's because we need to click on the simulation, and over here by the simulation size there's an option here called upscaling, and by default it's on none. So I want to show you the difference between none and something that's on an upscaling of ×3 or ×4. Okay, so by increasing the upscaling, you're going to get much better quality. The simulations are going to look a lot crisper, but it's definitely going to take a massive hit on the performance of the program, and this is also going to be dependent on how powerful your computer is. But anyway, let me show you the difference in quality between none and ×3. So in Photoshop, this simulation was saved out on a quality of none. So you can see that the smoke and everything looks a little bit blurry. Now let me hide that, and this is on a upscaling of ×3. You can see there's a lot more detail in the fire and the smoke, right? So before, after. So if you guys want better looking simulations, you definitely want to play around with the upscaling, but use this with caution because it's definitely going to take a massive hit on the performance. Remember, when it's exporting out these images, it's going to be quite slow, so experiment. If you're happy with none, that's perfect. If you want more quality, then put it on ×2, ×3, or if you're crazy, put it on ×4, but it depends on the power of your computer. Okay, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm leaving it on none. Now I just need to go back to export image, and like I said, we just need to click on export. So I'm going to click on export now. You can see it's running through the simulation. We've got this yellow progress bar, and as soon as it reaches frame 240, it's going to start exporting out images. Okay, so I'm not going to let it go and render out 64 images from frame 240. You can see I just did it up to frame 243, but you can see that it's rendering out all of these images. Super easy to do, and this is how you can build your own library. Now if I go back to Photoshop, right, maybe we go to this image I showed you at the beginning. Let me just hide that, and let me open up the tutorial folder again. You can see I can just drag and drop this onto my compositions, and everything is masked out. Alright, so that's the end of the tutorial. Now you can see how this is done. You can build your own library. Over here, I'm just going to click on stop export because I don't want this to continue exporting out any more images. So go ahead, play around with this. Remember, this is a real-time simulation program. So I can go back to my settings over here and adjust anything. Maybe press R to bring that back to 0. Let's add some additional detail on here. Let's maybe add some pressure. So now maybe I can start exporting out images that has some additional pressure applied onto it. And this is how you can build your own library of smoke and fire with these masked elements that you can maybe use in your compositions or with concept art. You can see just how simple it is. Alright, so thank you so much for watching my videos and tutorials. I truly appreciate the support on this channel, and goodbye.